In recent news, Joe Biden has come out and said that if his medical team were to advise him to put restrictions on unvaccinated people for state-to-state travel or domestic travel in general, that he would implement it. This isn't a surprise since we know recently the White House basically threatened the unvaccinated population. And all these things make it seem more of a reality when you account the fact of these potential leaks that came from the White House images from the White House website that talk about this specific thing. Before we get into that, I am Kingknub and you're watching the Kingknub Show. For those of you unfamiliar with the fact that the White House basically threatened the unvaccinated population, it comes from a briefing that came from the White House I think about a few weeks ago. I'll read off some things of that for you to give you some information. I'll begin by reading, as we've explained in prior briefings, the Omicron variant is more transmissible and our medical experts anticipate it will lead to a rise in cases. I find this hard to believe since we know that the CDC has reported and has said they have overestimated the spread and misidentified it by over 200%. It seems odd these things happen when it's convenient for them, but they always come out, oh, well, this is actually the case, or this is the case. Over 200%? How do you do that? How do you mess it up that much? Isn't it strange that the first people who end up having the Omicron variant were people who were vaccinated? They won't tell you about that, but that's the case. It also says, but unlike last winter, we now have the power to protect ourselves. Now, obviously talking about vaccines, even though we know that more people have gotten COVID this year than it did people last year, even though the vaccine is more widely available, that doesn't make any sense, does it? The fact that more people are vaccinated, shouldn't less cases be the thing? But that's not it. More people have gotten COVID, and if you really want to, you can. There's a thin line in there that they're not talking about, because we not have the power to protect ourselves. I almost interpret that in this way as people who are unvaccinated are the people we're going to protect ourselves from by using the police in the state to remove these people, to get them out of places we don't want them to be. Our vaccines work against Omicron, especially for people who get booster shots when they are eligible. If you're vaccinated, you could test positive, but if you do get COVID, your case will likely be asymptomatic or mild. That's even worse in my opinion, if you ask me. And it also told you not too long ago, well, it was a while back, because they've changed the story a few times, but Rachel Maddow was one of these people who was telling you that you wouldn't get COVID if you had the vaccine. You couldn't pass it around if you got the vaccine because you wouldn't get it. Joe Biden also did say this, that you wouldn't be able to pass COVID around because you wouldn't get COVID if you had the vaccines.
Right? Instead of the virus being able to hop from person to person to person, potentially mutating and becoming more virulent and drug resistant along the way, now we know that the vaccines work well enough that the virus stops with every vaccinated person. A vaccinated person gets exposed to the virus does not infect them. The virus cannot then use that person to go anywhere else.
The various shots that people are getting now cover that. You're okay. You're not going to get COVID if you have these vaccinations.
But now they're saying, well, you would be either asymptomatic or it would be mild. If you're still spreading it to people being asymptomatic, that's worse. Because if you know that you're sick, you're going to stay indoors if you're sick. Because that's what people do when they're sick. That's what I did when I was in the 6th grade and I had flu. I really wanted to go play basketball for our basketball team, but I had the flu. I was sick, so I stayed indoors like a decent human being. Well, my mom made me. I was supposed to do that. And my parents were supposed to do that to me because I'm the child. But anyway, I was sick, so I couldn't go out and leave the house. You know what I did, though, to make sure I got better? I rested, ate some saltine crackers, or drank me some Sprite, and I was feeling better by the next Monday coming up, so I can go back to school. But that's what you're saying. You either be asymptomatic or mild. You still have COVID, and you can still give it to people. Shouldn't that be an issue with you guys? Is it not an issue? Like, really? And by you guys, I mean like the liberals, Democrats, or the people in the White House talking about this. His COVID response team. It continues to say that we are intent on not letting Omicron disrupt work and school for the vaccinated. If you've done the right thing, we will get through this. That is some messed up blackmailing or some rudeness coming from the White House, making you feel like a terrible human being, trying to make you feel bad because you said, no, I don't want to get the vaccine. I'll choose not to do so. And these same people were telling you not too long ago that, hey, it's your choice. It's up to you. You don't have to get the vaccine. But if you want to be safe, you'll get the shot. But if you don't want to, you don't have to. But as soon as it comes to this kind of thing, they get power, it's all out warfare. They're evil. You did the right thing, but you did not. You didn't get vaccinated. You're wrong. You don't care about people. You're evil. That's what they want you to think. And this is the line. This is the line that was like, they really said this. And we know this is their frame of mind. We know that these people are evil. We know that they don't like us. Because it says, for the unvaccinated, you're looking at a winter of severe illness and death for yourselves, your families, and the hospitals you may soon overwhelm. I hear that and I'm just blown away. Because I'll use some numbers only for I'll do only the United States. 98.4% of the people, I think that's the right number. 98.4% of people in the U.S. who've gotten COVID has survived from COVID. This is also including the fact that 78% of people who've gotten COVID, the people who have died from COVID, have been people who are obese. 9 in 10 people who've also died from COVID have been people with other pre-existing conditions, not just having COVID, but people who have like cancer or who may have actually had the flu, but it's severe, but like gotten a real mad case of it because they're old or something, or just like diabetes, other things going on with their body. That includes that number as well. It also includes the fact that 93% of people who die from COVID are over the age of 55. Older people generally have compromised immune systems. They fail to mention all of these things. Why? Because it makes the number look worse. But if you actually take out these specific numbers, the amount of people who survive COVID increases tremendously. Because the young people don't die from COVID generally. They just don't it doesn't happen to them. They're healthier. They're much better off. So they just don't die from COVID. That's just how that works. What they should be doing is encouraging you to eat healthier food. What they should be doing for you is telling you to lose weight. They should be telling you to go to the gym. Because we know going to the gym is good for your heart and it's good for your body. A healthy heart is much better off surviving a disease like this. And if you have less weight, your heart is better off. You don't have to carry as much around, so your body will do better off. It's easier for it to pump blood, get oxygen throughout the body. That's just science. But because of COVID, they've reduced the number of people who can go into gyms in many places. And the city of Boston has said you can't go into restaurants, you can't go into gyms, you can't go into social places if you aren't vaccinated. Isn't it wild that for you to go to McDonald's, the place that's killing you, the place that is making you unhealthy, is a place telling you, hey, show me your health card, show me you're vaccinated. Okay, you're healthy. Come on in and eat some damaging food. That's just bizarre, is it not? And I'll read this last part here. It says, so our message to every American is clear. There is action you can take to protect yourselves and your family. Wear a mask in public indoor settings. Get vaccinated. Get your kids vaccinated and get a booster shot when you're eligible. But by the way, the reason they keep pushing booster shots, the reason why more booster shots are going to come out is because you're never going to be fully vaccinated. They're going to keep doing this. They're going to keep weakening your actual immune system, the thing that you can use to fight these different things, to the point to where you need to become dependent on this, but it's not going to help you anyway. Because you're going to get shot after shot after shot after shot. I wouldn't be shot. I wouldn't be surprised. I'm speculating here. I would not be surprised if there was like 3 to 4 booster shots needed in the year of 2022. I wouldn't be surprised if that many more shots were to come out. At least one more. At least one more is coming. Aside from that now, let's talk about these leaks that I said that actually came out from the White House website. Then again, these are leaks. The things that are going on right now makes this seem more like an action, like not just like some Photoshop going on. This makes it seem like this really did come from the White House. Because with Joe Biden talking about how he would be implementing one if his medical team devises one, I wouldn't be surprised if they did. I'll read it here. This thing here talks about President Biden's new winter plan. It says, learn about restrictions on cross-state travel. First of all, I want you to imagine that. Let's say you have a friend in a state that's like maybe 15 minutes away from you because you probably live close together. Regardless of that fact, you may not be able to see your friend ever again because you're unvaccinated. You won't be able to celebrate birthdays. You won't be able to celebrate holidays simply because you aren't vaccinated. If this is the case, I mind you again. I'll keep bringing that up. Also, let's say you have a relative or someone or a good friend of yours who's in the hospital dying from a disease, or they got in a car crash or something bad has happened to them. And they happen to be in the next state over. You will not be able to visit them because you are unvaccinated. Never has there been any disease like COVID with the rate of survivability this high that has restricted this many people and taken as many freedoms and done this many terrible things, like at the hands of the government, as any other disease. Why is this the one? Because they know they can use it to put their power out there, to strip your rights, to make you feel safe, to give you this false sense of security so they can take what's rightfully yours, your freedom, and your right to live your life. And the more complacent, the more silent you are with these things, the worse it's going to be. Unless you stand up and do something about it, not advocate for violence, unless you stand up and fight and do what's right, they're going to keep doing it. They're going to keep coming after you, keep coming after your family and your country, and they're going to take it from you. They're going to take it all away unless you stand up and fight. That's not all of it too, either, people. It says, read about the new booster requirements. See, I told you. If this thing goes out the way it will, there will be more boosters. I guarantee you. It won't be just saying, hey, do you have your first 2 vaccines? Oh, but do you have all +3 boosters? Okay, now you can come in. If you don't, you can't get in. And this thing here makes me a little uncomfortable. It says, see America's new quarantine centers. What in the world? What the is a quarantine center? You know what people did when they get sick? You know what their quarantine center was? Their quarantine center was their home. If you get sick, you just go home. Isolate yourself till you feel better. Eat some chicken noodle soup, chill on your bed, relax, and just stay home. That's what people do when they're sick. People typically don't get sent to a quarantine center. What kind of people will be sent here? I'm starting to think it won't be just a quarantine center. I'm starting to think that, this is me speculating here, that they will use people who disagree with them politically and take them in as basically political prisoners and put them in these quarantine centers. I'm not saying I'm predicting the future or this may actually be happening. I'm just speculating, but I would not be surprised. Jen Psaki has talked about these kinds of things in the past. Maybe not the quarantine centers, but putting bans on travel, like domestic travel. There's been previous briefings where they've talked about, well, we do have other measures in place right now, like the mask. We have masks where it's mandatory to wear masks in certain places. Yeah, that's true, but for people to not be able to go from state to state because they aren't vaccinated, you can't even go to some cities now or do things in certain cities now because of that. It's terrible. And they say these things, well, we might do it. It's a possibility, potentially, to say these things to warm you up to these ideas, to get your mind used to hearing it. So when it actually happens, it's not much of a surprise. And because you've gotten so used to it, you've gotten complacent with it. They force that on you. There's nothing you can do because, like, well, I already knew it was happening. Because you're not doing nothing. You gotta do something. You gotta do something against it. Come on now. But that's just it, folks. Don't let these people do this to you. We know the government's corrupt. We got bad people in it right now. We got to get them out. So stand up for your rights, fight for your country, and do what's good. You know what's right. Anyways, folks, this has been Kingknub, and this is the Kingknub Show. Have a good one.